Hello everyone, welcome to St. Clements for this week's collective worship. As you saw, Mrs. Halliwell was talking about honesty and Adam and Eve on Monday. So we're going to carry on thinking about those. But first of all, we'll say our opening prayers together.
We light a light in the name of God the Father, who made us.
We light a light in the name of God the Son, who lives among us.
We light a light in the name of God, the Spirit who helps us.
We light three lights for the Trinity of love, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
So on Monday, Mrs. Halliwell talked about the story of Adam and Eve and about being honest and what that story tells us about honesty. I want to carry on those thoughts, that conversation a little bit more. First, I'm going to do a quick recap of the story. Hopefully you saw Mrs. Halliwell tell it and you saw one of the videos. So this should just be a refresher. The story comes from right near the beginning of the Bible. It's the second story in the Bible. The first is that great poem of creation, which tries to explain in a poetic way how the world came to be, and it uses the image of a week, 7 days, to make the earth, and different things made on different days. In the second story of creation, it's different. It's not a poem, it's prose, it's a story, and it begins with the earth being formed. So it doesn't begin with nothing like the first story. It begins with the earth. But God still comes and makes the plants and the trees and causes the water to swell up to make lakes and rivers and the seas. And then he thinks, God, it needs a bit more. I know. I'll make something really special. He gets some clay from the ground and he molds it and breathes into it. And when he breathes into it, the clay responds and breathes back. And God made the first human. That's how he made the first human. And it was really good. It was great. He was really pleased with it. And then he got the human to help him name all the other animals, all the birds, all the tame animals, all the wild animals. But none of them were quite right for keeping this human company. And it's that, he didn't want him to be lonely. So I'll have to make another companion, a special companion for him. So he got the human, put him into a deep sleep, and he kind of broke a bit off, split him in two. And from those two bits, he made a man and he made a woman. And so from the human came men and women like we have today. That was great. They worked well together. So now I need somewhere for them to live, God thought. I know just the place. I'll make the perfect garden, the Garden of Eden. I'll make it in the east, and it will have every beautiful tree that gives fruit and bushes that gives berries and vegetables, and everything will be perfect there. So he put them in the perfect garden with animals, and everybody lived together peacefully. And God told them, you can eat from anything you like. All the trees, the bushes, they're all yours, apart from that tree in the middle. That tree you mustn't eat from. It will be no good for you whatsoever. All sorts of problems will happen if you eat of that tree. It's the tree of the knowledge of right and wrong. And if you eat it, all sorts of bad things will follow. You might die. Don't eat that tree. Okay, so Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden, and everything was beautiful and calm and perfect and in harmony. And then one day, one of the creatures, we call a serpent or a snake, slithered over to Eve when she was on her own. You can eat from any tree in this garden, can't you? Said the snake, being a bit crafty. Yeah, we can, said Eve. Apart from that one in the middle, that one we're not allowed to eat from. That one will do us no good. And the snake, really? yeah, it's the knowledge of right and wrong. We're not to go to that tree. I think you can eat that tree, said the snake. I think it would be great. Just look at the fruit on that tree. Incredible. So large and beautiful and ripe and juicy. Go on, eat of that fruit. So Eve looked at it, and it did look very good. And she thought, why not? Why not? So she took a bite. And nothing bad happened. She was fine. Nothing, didn't feel ill, anything. She felt a bit funny, but it was fine. So she took it to Adam, and Adam, he had a bite. And he felt fine. He didn't suddenly become ill or anything like that. But they did suddenly notice that they hadn't got any clothes on. That before that, they'd been a bit like babies, running around, having a great time. They hadn't really noticed that they'd not got any clothes on. But now, they kind of did notice, and they felt ashamed, and they felt they needed to cover up. So they made themselves some clothes, like swimwear, out of fig leaves. And then they heard God walking through the garden, calling for them. So they rushed away and they hid because they were ashamed. And God called them and says, "Where are you? Why are you hiding? What's gone on? What have you done?" And so they came out, and Adam said, "Well, we ate of that fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, and we felt ashamed because we were naked, and so we hid when we heard you coming." And God said, "Well, I warned you there would be consequences, things that just follow. Why did you eat?" And Adam said, "Well, it wasn't my fault. Don't blame me. It was Eve. She gave me the fruit to eat." And Eve said, it wasn't my fault. Don't blame me. It was the snake who gave it me to eat, who told me to eat it. And the snake just smiled, looking smugly and enjoying all the trouble he'd caused. So God said, "Right, well, you snake, from now on you will slither around on your belly. No legs for you. And between you and all these human beings there will be fear and anger and hatred. And they won't like you, and you won't like them. And you, Adam and Eve, well, I told you, if you ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge and good and evil, of right and wrong, you have to start looking after yourself now. You have to go and put that knowledge to work. You can't stay in this beautiful garden anymore. So I'll give you some clothes and set you off, but out you go into the world to look after yourself." And that's what they had to do. And the gate to the Garden of Eden was shut. So that story of Adam and Eve, when it was first told, and through to now, so it's thousands of years old, that story, it was a way of helping people to think about what human beings are like and what I'm like, and about the choices that I make. Human beings are a mixed bunch, and every one of us is capable of being incredible, of being kind and generous, and sharing what we have, and being loving and looking after one another. We're amazing at times. And also we can have times when we're a bit grumpy, we get angry with people, when we just don't want to share, frankly. I want what I want, and tough anyone else. And we have these two sides. And what the story's trying to say is, if we give into that negative side too much, there are consequences. Negative things happen. Adam and Eve had to leave the garden and grow up and become and look after themselves. And so being honest is one way of trying to put ourselves in the right side of things, on the good side of things, of trying to stop all the negative things and the bad things and the wrong things happen. The story of Adam and Eve doesn't say that we'll always be good and we'll never do anything wrong, because that isn't true. All of us at some times will do things wrong, and that's just how we're like, what we're like as human beings. But if we can be honest about it, if we can tell the truth, not try and shift the blame, not try and point the finger at someone else, not try and make it that it wasn't our fault really, honest. It was the woman, she gave me the apple to eat, and the woman, no, it was the snake's fault. If we can stop that passing the blame and be honest, then the amazing thing is, often that means we can start afresh, because then we can have what we call forgiveness. We can make amends. We can start to be friends with one another, and we can start afresh. And all the bad things that might follow from whatever we've done, we can reduce them or get rid of them sometimes, but certainly reduce them, make them smaller, make them less bad, if we're honest. Honesty is our secret weapon, although it's not a secret, about stopping the bad things keep rolling around the world. If we can be honest and truthful, and then good things start to follow. So that's what Adam and Eve means to me. Yes, we're fantastic, but sometimes rotten. But if we can be truthful and honest, then we can start again and rebuild our friendships with people, and good things will follow instead of all the bad things that follow when we tell lies. We're going to finish with a song now, one from the summer.
Wide as the ocean, high as the heaven above, deep as the deepest sea is my Saviour's love. I, though so unworthy, still am a child of His care, for His word teaches me that His love